Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sending the Wolf. My name is Clarke Wolfe. It's so great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everybody is well and your week is off to a great start. I didn't put on my headphones yet. I just have them. I'll put them on later. How's everybody doing? Please say hi in the chat if you are so inclined. You are always welcome to lurk, of course. But if you are there, please feel free to say hello. Hi, Andrew. Happy Singles Awareness Month to you. Thank you so much. Yes, and to all who celebrate. I actually hung my little Valentine on my door today. Hi, another Mr. Lizard. Great to see you. Oh, it was a slow day at the movie theater, Andrew. I went to the movies twice this weekend. Hey, Mike Joyce, great to see you as always. Yeah. Hi, Stephen. Good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, I went to the movies twice this weekend. I was aiming for 3 times, but it only ended up being 2. So I still have not seen Presents. But hey, Emra, great to see you. But I did see a little indie movie, family or kind of heartwarming, like indie drama called Green and Gold that a friend of mine produced. And that was really fun to go to a screening this weekend. Hey, Lev Hauser, great to see you. Hi, Nicholas, great to see you. Yeah, and so I saw that. Craig T. Nelson stars. Couple of up and comers, including we talked about him last week, and now I'm forgetting his name. The guy from Yellowstone. Let's just look it up. IMDb. Hold on, let me figure out. He has a really fun role in this movie. Green and Gold. Here it is. Brandon Skellner. That's right. We were just talking about him, and then he showed up. Mike says he can't see it. He's a Bears fan. That's fair. Loyalty. I understand. Hey, congratulations on filming your reviews for the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, Andrew. That's great. Keep up the great work as always. So I have it. I know it mostly looks the same, but I've got a little bit of a different setup today. So I'm like trying some things in my new studio space. So yeah, this weekend was a big, busy weekend for me. So I saw Green and Gold, as I mentioned, and then I also saw Companion. And I am very glad that I went in knowing as little as possible. But I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it way more than actually I thought I would. I thought I was gonna like it, but I really liked it. And we were talking a little bit about Drew Hancock doing the new Faculty movie, and I didn't realize how many like TV credits Drew Hancock had. But I thought that script was really great. I thought it was really great, and I in fact was like checking my watches like every time the like important story beats happen. I would look down at my watch and I was like, yeah, this is just like so well structured. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to Heart Eyes this weekend with my dear friend, co-written by my sweet buddy Michael Kennedy, and I'm so proud of him. The reviews have been great. Despite being good friends with Michael, I still have not seen the movie, but that's on me. I didn't really email PR. Oh well. But can't wait to see that one for sure. Hi, Brian Knight. Great to see you. Hey, Mirror. Mirror says Companion was good. Oh, Rufus says hello. Andrew says Companion is a great Valentine's movie. Yes, so many good like horror Valentine's Day movies this year, from Companion to Hard Eyes. I feel like there was one more. Last night I went over to my buddy Hector Navarro and Abby's. Rufus, what are you doing? Place, and we watched My Bloody Valentine 3D in 3D, the 2009 My Bloody Valentine. And if you've never seen it, it's just truly one of my favorite. It's just one of my favorite movie watching experiences, and neither of them had seen it, and they had no idea what they were getting into. And but they are Hector especially is like a 3D enthusiast, and he has this like actual 3D TV, and he's really gotten me to appreciate 3D in a way that I never did before. And watching My Bloody Valentine 3D, it just the quality of the 3D is so good. Like we've been watching so many post converts, and so that was really really fun. Nicholas says, I saw The Substance a second time in a very big theater, and it was even better the second time. They should just give Demi the Oscar already, a performance for the ages. Yeah, Nicholas, I want to watch The Substance again as well. I liked it the first time I saw it, but I think because it was not what I was expecting, I think if I went in and watched it again, knowing what to expect, I would probably appreciate it a little bit more. So I need to give it a rewatch. Speaking of Oscar movies, so I did start Emilia Perez, which is obviously a very big topic this week and last week after we did our stream. Which I did have one submission to like talk about the controversy in my in our on our Patreon or in Discord. It was in Discord. But controversy aside, it's funny because I had heard, nothing but polarized opinions about Emilia Perez. Some people just absolutely love that movie, and then others absolutely hated the movie. And I think I'm the one person who was kind of indifferent to it. Like, I liked it fine, but I also turned it off. I'll admit it. I turned it off halfway through. I was like, I am tired. I don't want to watch this. And but I thought all the performances were very good. They're very good. Do I think it's 13 Academy Award nominations good? No, not really. And the fact that the director snuck in for Best Director, edging out John Chu or Denis Villeneuve or the director from Conclave. I just kind of was like, I don't know. So I'm kind of in the middle on the Emilia Perez conversation. I thought it was fine. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't even finish it. Steven says, I know a lot of people Emilia Perez is supposed to represent found it offensive. I saw a tweet, or not a tweet, I saw somebody post online there that you can tell a big difference between a movie that is by us versus made by people that are making something for us. And I was like, yeah, that's a really interesting, perspective to have. And when I watched it, I kind of had that feedback of like, this wasn't created by the people that are represented by the movie. And so yeah, I felt that I understood what they were saying. Let's see. What wait a second. Yeah, Brian Knight illustrating my point. My condolences for having to watch Emilia Perez. Yeah, very controversial for sure. Oh, let's throw this chat in here as well. Steven says, Naomi Scott, an underrated performance in Smile 2. I wish she had been in the awards conversation. I found her performance to remind me a bit of Natalie Portman in Black Swan. I was not doing the stream when Smile 2 was out. I will say that I thought Smile 2 was good. I did not love Smile 2, that I think the way a lot of other horror influencers did. But the reason I thought that, by the way, was because it's kind of just the same exact movie as the first one. And I'm really lucky that I got to see the first Smile at the world premiere at Fantastic Fest. So I had like no expectations. The hype machine wasn't up and running, and so I just got to watch it completely fresh, and I enjoyed it very much. And I think Parker Finn is a really good director. But by the time Smile 2 came around, a lot of my friends in the horror world Oh, excuse me, Rufus needs to make a bed. Let's give him something to make a bed with. Hey, bud. Oops. Sorry, I'll detour. So that said, I my gripe with Smile too was that it was just the same movie, with a bigger budget and a different dressing, I suppose, like a different outfit on. Um, uh, and I was disappointed that the movie kind of like flirted with expanding the mythology, but then kind of ultimately just sort of backed off of that. Kind of felt like, oh, did you guys not really ever like flesh out what this is? But anyway, nonetheless, Naomi Scott, fabulous. She was so good. It was an incredible performance. I loved her work. I could not blew my mind that she was our Princess Jasmine in the live action Guy Ritchie Aladdin. I could not believe it. She disappeared into both roles. I thought she was fabulous. So totally agree. Let's see what else. What else we got going on in the chat? Mike says Dinny was robbed. Sam says, I hope Naomi Scott gets her time with awards like the other former Disney Channel and Nick stars. I think she's got a great career ahead of her, Sam, for sure. Nicholas says, I saw Emilia Perez in a theater last weekend, and I was very indifferent to it as well. My local theater is playing it tonight, and I want to see it again to see if I like it more. Like I did watch it at home, on Netflix. It is a Netflix movie. So yeah, and my experience at home was just kind of like, whatever. Hazy SH, yeah. Rufus will not be denied. He actually probably does need a bed for the studio, but that we can deal with another time. Hi, Stacy. Great to see you. Stacy says, an actor from SNL that played a comedic robot is in M3GAN 2. Well, I have the teaser for M3GAN 2 on deck, so don't you worry. Let's see. M. Santiago says, as a writer, it can be hard to write stories from certain people's viewpoints without accidentally entering spaces I probably shouldn't be in. As a cis male, Emilia Perez bungled it in that respect. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Akers says Naomi Scott is great. She sure is. Oh, Andrew says Naomi Scott will always be the Pink Ranger in the original Power Rangers reboot. Hey Paige, good to see you. Oh, we got some Valentine's Day discussion in the chat. Hi Lowell, good to see you. Lowell says, I tried watching Emilia Perez on Netflix, but could barely make it past 10 minutes. So bad. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why it doesn't. I mean, here's the thing, like, as a person who loves movies, I love the idea that there is a new musical that is different and using a new movie musical that is a different tonally and different storyline and told through like a span of many years. I think that the ideas behind Emilia Perez are really cool. I really do, cinematically. But I also, as I said, I just didn't. Do I think it's deserving of 13 Academy Award nominations? I don't know. Probably not, I would say. But that's just the way. That's the way the nominations went this year. Lowell says, I've only watched clips of Emilia Perez. Zoe Saldana's delivery of yes, 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 yes lives rent free in my head. This is true, Gishgali. If Rufus doesn't have a bed in the studio, he isn't going to sleep in the studio. And who loses out there? Us. It's true. He is adorable. Hi, Christopher. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us and for popping into the chat. It's great to see you. So yeah, for those of you who are just joining, welcome to Sending the Wolf. We've got like a really big kind of show today, lots to talk about, and also I have an unboxing to do from my friends Mandy K Marketing. Oh my god, I almost threw it across the table. In support of the movie Seven and its restored home video release. Can you see that it's actually dirty? They actually made the box dirty. It's like it's very, very good. And as you guys know, if you've been watching for the last couple of weeks, I did in fact go out to see the Seven restoration in IMAX, and y'all, it just, oh my god, it totally, totally ruled. It was so good. So I am so excited that now I get an actual box to open up. Although I should have gotten my pocket knife like Morgan Freeman does in the movie. Let's see. Oh yeah, a lot of exact, Brian. Oh hey, for all of you Collider Nightmares friends in the chat, it's time for what's in the box. What's in the box? It's always fun to yell that once a week. Let's see. Yeah, Rufus does need a little Rufus cam. That's for sure. Paige says the Oscar race is turned into a mudslide. Let's see. Hi Nathaniel, what's in the box? Brian says, what's in the box? Andrew says he's excited for Fantastic Four trailer tomorrow. Sure is. M. Santiago says Leland Orser's scene in Seven is haunting. The whole movie is haunting. Okay, let's see what's in the box. Thank you again to Mandy K Marketing and the team at, ooh, I think it's new one. Okay, ooh, very simple, very classic, very simple. We have a composition book and the movie. We like, that's simple as good. Thank you so much. An empty composition book too, so I can write all of my brilliant ideas in it, just like John Doe did. And of course, here she is. Wow. This is so cool. 4K Ultra HD. Man, I love this movie so much. I really, really do. Paige. That's a really good point. No air freshener. Nope, this is just very simple. A very simple thing. But yeah, all my ideas are gonna go in there. That's for sure. Thank you again, Team 7. This is so great. I'm really, really excited to have this. Thank you all so much for thinking of me. And of course, the Ultra 4K Blu-ray is available right now. No fingernails in there. Nick says, adding 7 to my 4K want list. I know. Yeah, no air freshener, unfortunately. Did I get a tree in the box? I did not get a tree in the box. No tree in the box. And no fingernails. What else is on my list of housekeeping to talk about? Let's see. I talked about My Bloody Valentine. I started a little rewatch of Yellowjackets because are there any Yellowjackets fans in the chat right now? I have been feeling very much like I feel like the season 3 premiere it's in a week from Friday on Valentine's Day, and I feel like so much time has passed since we saw the Yellowjacket, like, new episodes. And so with that being said, I was like, I should probably give this a rewatch because I don't remember. I remember the broad strokes. And then I rewatched the pilot and I rewatched the second episode, and I was like, man, this show sets up so much mystery amongst the girls in the woods that it has not delivered on. And so I really am wondering, and please tell me in chat if you've read any interviews or you've heard any information, but like I really am wondering if they're going to start to deliver on some of those promises. Let's see. What does chat have to say? Brian says, question, is 7 a horror movie? My take is it's a horror noir thriller. Friends disagree with me. What do they think it is, Brian? I think it's absolutely a horror noir thriller. I think this is why you guys have heard me say it 1,000 times, but when we had Collider Nightmares, I called it Collider Nightmares and not Collider Horror Talk because things that give you nightmares cross genres, whether that is aliens, whether that is Hannibal Lecter, whether that is a monster or a slasher, or the list goes on and on. So I chose that because I think, especially when we're talking about horror often dips its toes and or has different tentacles in different genres. And so I that's also part of the reason why I usually use the term genre just in general, like genre storytelling or genre filmmaking or genre television, because it's a little more inclusive, I suppose. um Let's see. Alvi says, I loved the first season of Yellow Jackets, but never caught up and don't have Paramount. Nathaniel says, Yellow Jackets is still on my watch list. Brian says, I watched Yellow Jackets, did not like the season 2 finale at all. I don't disagree with you, Brian. I found season 2 to be a bit lacking, but Sam says, I liked the second season more than some. So there you have it. Hi, Justin Williams. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support ever since the Schmodown. I really appreciate it. M. Santiago says, I haven't watched it, but I do love Melanie Linsky, so maybe I should start. Melanie Linsky is the literal star of this show. So I think if you like her, you're gonna enjoy that. Oh, bye, Paige. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great day. Sam says, I love the swing that they took with the season 2 finale of Yellow Jackets. ZSH says, I feel like I would like it a lot because so many of my favorite actresses are in it, but I haven't watched it yet because I feel like it's a show meant for only women. Oh, wow. Well, what I will say, in my opinion, and I think that this is actually a really good point to make, ZSH, what I would say is that it's not a show made only for women. However, unlike a lot of shows on television, this show does not cater to a male audience. I think that's the difference. It's not exclusive, it's not, I don't think it's exclusive to a male audience at all. But I do think that it's a show that is, its primary focus is engaging a female or femme or maybe queer kind of audience. It doesn't mean leaving anybody out. It just means that's not the priority. And I think if you think about it that way, it's really interesting, like how many shows and movies and pieces of art or pop culture are really interested in like catering to a traditional sort of like male, perspective or point of view. So ladies can be involved too, obviously. I watch a lot of guy stuff, horror movies, superheroes, whatever. But yeah, when you start to think about like, oh wow, is this show interested, like Yellow Jackets, is this show interested in centering the male, and making the male audience necessarily feel comfortable? You kind of start to go, oh, not really. Do any other shows do that? And, it's interesting. Okay. Let's see. Steven says, Seven gave my mom nightmares. Yeah, well, there you have it. My point exactly, Steven. That's why I called it Collider Nightmares. Okay, Brian says that his friends think that Seven is just a crime thriller or noir. Well, that's crazy. I don't think it's just one of those things at all. And I don't think David Fincher would say it was just one of those things either. Hi, Tommy. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. M. Santiago says, the line between horror and thriller starts to gets really blurry when you start trying to nail down definitions. Agreed. Oh, cool. Nicholas has some tips for a 4K player. I am in the market for a Blu-ray player as well. And now that like a bunch of major companies are just going to stop making them, and they're all very expensive. Like everything's almost $100 for a Blu-ray player, and it's mine actually just broke. So I kept one for like truly about a decade, and it lasted me a long time. But yeah, the fact that like the prices have not come down on Blu-ray players is totally wild. Lowell says, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is not a horror movie, but Judge Doom at the end gives me nightmares. Yep, you get the idea. Alvi says, first season of Yellowjackets is on Netflix. And Mike says, I'm going to watch Yellowjackets after I finish watching all of White Lotus before those two show premieres. I really, really, really am excited for White Lotus. I did see something, we watched the teaser last week, so if you missed that episode, you can go back and watch it on YouTube. But I read that we should expect this season of White Lotus to be more dark than the last, and I was picking up on some of those vibes from the teaser. So good to know that I wasn't like totally off base. Oh yeah, Justin says, I never realized you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer girl, Clarke. Of course I am. That was it's funny. I actually had a babysitter when I was like 5 years old. Was it? Who showed me Buffy the movie. And so I actually started out on Buffy the movie, and I still kind of love that movie. And I actually started taking karate lessons because of Buffy. And then when the show was on, I was like, I don't like that they recast this. This seems a little like teen melodrama, even when I was a teen. I thought that way. And but when I started watching Buffy, I started watching in season 4. So I started watching when Buffy goes to college. So I actually missed all of the Angel arc, but I got the idea. I mean, it wasn't hard to put the pieces together from seasons 1 to 3. And so I actually watched from seasons 4 to 7, which a lot of people who started from the beginning, like that's where they were like, no, this is too dark. This isn't fun anymore. I want to turn it off. But I was the opposite. And I actually think that, like when we talk about revisiting like TV shows from way, way, way back when TV shows were an hour long and they had 22 episodes. A lot of times we forget that, like, oh yeah, we don't just get to the point. Like, it's a very long drawn out story, especially television from the 90s and the aughts. And so I bring this up because I always tell people, if they are interested in watching Buffy, like especially some of it really hasn't aged well, but some of it actually really has. And so my recommendation is actually, and it's controversial against Buffy or amongst Buffy fans, but I always tell people to start with season 4 and go season 4 to 7. And then if you like it so much, you want more, go back and do 1 through 3, because that's a little bit more like, it's a little bit more teen melodrama, frankly. But that's just my 2 cents. Again, I know this is very controversial. So let's see. Nicholas says, movies and TV shows led by strong females can be so damn entertaining. I even like a lot of chick flicks for the same reason. The best ones have great female characters. I agree. Sam says, the younger actress who played Shauna, aka Melanie Linsky, should have been nominated for Yellowjackets season 2. She is very good. That was a great season for her, 100%. Neo-noir, maybe, but why do they have to put things in boxes? But Nathaniel says, your take on Yellowjackets makes me more interested to watch it. Thanks. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Report back, Nathaniel, if you check it out. I think I saw in the chat that season 1 is on Netflix, and season 1 is awesome. It's really good. I have not watched From yet, M. Santiago. I do not have MGM Plus, so I do not have access to From. Justin says, speaking of White Lotus, season 3 looks to be the hottest yet. Tommy says, I'm nervous for The Last of Us season 2 after playing the game. I pulled those images for us, Tommy, if we get to it. So Steven says, I liked season 2 of White Lotus way more than season 1. That's so interesting, Steven, because I liked season 1 better than season 2. But I ultimately really came to appreciate season 2. It's just different. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a very different tone. It's a very different vibe. I love Murray, I'm blanking on his last name, but our main hotel employee in White Lotus season 1, to me, he was like the perfect character to like hang an arc on, basically. I loved him. I thought he was incredible. Um yeah, Brian says the great news, Joss isn't involved. Yep, we'll get to that. Buffy show tried hard. Amara says Buffy tried hard to distance itself from the movie. Yeah, it really did. It really did. Let's see. There, Gishgali says about White Lotus, that quote from Mike White where he said seasons 1 and 2 were just rehearsals for season 3 really drove me crazy. We make these people do much press. Yeah, I don't disagree. Another Mr. Lizard says Hush was the first episode I saw, and then I went back and I watched the rest. Another Mr. Lizard. So that's the other game that Buffy fans love to play, is if you could recommend 3 episodes to anyone to get the vibe and like showcase Buffy, what would they be? And Hush is actually one of them. My 3 are Hush, The Body, and Once More with Feeling. And it's funny because I had a boyfriend one time who was interested in like developing a teen genre show, and he was like kind of like Buffy. And he was like, do you think I should go back and watch the show? And I was like, that is so many hours of television. But if you want, let's watch these 3 episodes so you can get a feel of like what this show is capable of doing. And I think that the archetypes are so strong with Buffy that like if you just watched The Body, I don't think that it would throw you for a loop. And it didn't him. My boyfriend at the time, he totally got it. So that's just my opinion. But again, I know some people think that what I am saying, if some Buffy fans think that I am talking crazy. Let's see. Steven Turner says season 3 is my favorite because of Faith. I hope she is in the sequel series. That's such a great idea. I'll pull up the article in just a second and let's go through it, because I saw that Chloe Zhao is nearing the about to like close the deal to direct the pilot, and Sarah Michelle is back, and it's being called a sequel series, so it is not a reboot. It is like a continuation of the series, kind of like what Sarah has been doing with Dexter, which is kind of cool. Lowell says, so what you're saying is we should watch Buffy the same way George Lucas released Star Wars. Yeah, actually, that's a really good way to put it. Steven says, I'm surprised we get a Buffy show again. I always thought because Joss was a creator, we wouldn't ever get it. They must not have to have him involved. Yeah, I'm sure that at the end of the day, Fox owns it. So, and now Disney owns it. So, oh man, what a time. What a time we live in. Let's see. Oh, don't apologize, Justin. We're so happy to have you in the chat. Thank you for being here. Oh, this is a hot take. Save me. Save me one says, I thought Angel was the better show. Hot take. MGM is worth the $6.99 a month. It costs to have one, cheaper than Max alone. Nicholas, I did do a trial of MGM Plus, and I watched Chapel Wait with Adrian Brody. That was the Salem's Lot prequel series, and I really liked it. And it got a green light for season 2, and then it was during COVID, and it was during all the streaming wars and everything, and then they canceled it, and I was just like, this is what a time. What a time. Yeah, Mike Joyce. Probably won't sway you, but that's a good point. Hey, Richard. Richard Fearing says, hey, everyone. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Steven says, agree, Angel was better. And it felt like it could have kept going. Oh my gosh. So many hot takes. Let's see. So ZSH says Buffy is a show meant for a female audience that I actually liked a lot. White Lotus is very neutral. Always looking forward to that show. Yeah, this is a great point, Andrew. Spike and Wesley were my favorite Buffyverse characters because they progressed. The arcs on that show, I tell you what, some basically kind of what I would say too about Buffy that's so cool is that so many of the writers went on to write amazing things and create amazing television. And so I do think that it was a real incubator for a lot of real talent in front of and behind the camera. Um, let's see. So Sam says White Lotus season 1 has better clear-cut character arcs, but season 2 has better world building. And Andrew says the actor who plays Wesley is from my hometown. Amber says didn't Hush win award for the script, giving it had very little dialogue. Yes, Amra. So the piece of trivia that you are alluding to, and you're right, it was the only writing nomination that Buffy ever received at the Emmys was for the episode of Hush, where, as you point out, there is little to no dialogue. And so that was always like the really funny kind of joke of it all was people, even at the time, even though it was on the WB and it was a teen show, at that time, people really were picking up on, wow, this is one of the best written shows on TV. And but yet it never got acting accolades, never really got any writing or directing accolades. But the episode of Hush was the only Emmy writing nomination. Steven says, I love the live action Scooby Doo movies made Daphne just Buffy in purple. Yeah, that's a funny way of putting it. Another Mr. Lizard says Wesley was one of the more convincing attempts at an English accent. Another Mr. Lizard, do you hate Spike's accent? I mean, listen, I am an American, but I feel like it's for that region, for that dialect of English, of an English accent, I think it's pretty good. Richard says, great to hear Buffy is making a comeback. I don't know if Angel could be revived, but the way Angel ended, I would like to see that happen. Gishgali, oh, great context, Gishgali. One of the first things you sign when you sell a movie or TV show is the separation of rights, which say that the studio owns the rights to whatever you created. Yes, and especially at that time, Joss wasn't coming in like, Joss wasn't coming in as like a hot commodity. So I'm sure he had, yeah, I remember too, it was like a whole thing with the TV series and how he wanted to direct the movie and he couldn't direct the movie and he was upset about it. Anyway, let's see what else we got. Yep, Brian Knight points out that Drew Goddard is one of the many people who came from Buffy. Very true. Ronan says, sorry I'm late. Hi, don't apologize. Working on a stream for tonight on the new Last of Us photos. Yes, I have them pulled. We should talk about it. Okay, Spikes was passable. Yes. Yeah, and Super Bowl week got a lot of commercials coming up. Steven says that era of TV was so good. I grew up on Buffy and Charmed. I loved getting to look forward each week. Badass female lead supernatural shows that each lasted so long, 7 and 8 seasons. I will tell you that I feel so. I read this article with the gentleman who created The Boys, the TV show, not the comic book series, and he came from the CW. He came from Supernatural, and he was talking about how disappointing it is that in today's current media climate there is no CW, or there at the time WB, these incubators where young writers and young directors got to actually learn how to make things and make things on a budget, make things fast. But it was like a really great training ground for young directors. And I couldn't agree more. Like I wish that there were more TV shows like that you could kind of pitch your way into as a young or new director. And it's kind of like what the Arrowverse was too. Like a lot of the Arrowverse cast got their first directing credits, like directing episodes of their own show. Yes, Ronan, that's it, Eric. Anyway, yeah, I mourn that type of TV for sure. Thanks, Richard, for for that. I appreciate it. Um, ZSH says, as a sign of human progress, when I first watched Buffy, I assumed Spike and I were mortal enemies, and now I'm certain that we'd be the best of friends. Listen, I will tell you that that's the other thing with this is I remember at the time when Game of Thrones was on, I was um I was working a lot for Nerdist. And I remember like this dialogue within the geek culture community about Game of Thrones and about like the really bad, behavior of these horrible villains. And I remember thinking like, yeah, but like the show's not glamorizing that. And I thought about this about Spike's arc on the show and like I feel like that's important stuff that you kind of have to acknowledge or deal with. It's tough. Like there's a lot of forgiveness involved in the later seasons of Buffy, and it's not making excuses, but at the same time, I think that if you look at Spike's arc, like he did come out on the other side a better person. And so this is just to say that yeah, it's very hard to have conversations about like morality and it's also not like Spike was a role model, you know what I mean? And I also really always appreciated that Buffy, one of the things, it's less about Spike and more about Buffy. One of the things I always really appreciated about Buffy was that we saw Buffy making terrible decisions. And yet the show didn't glamorize her terrible positions. Or excuse me, like the show was like, no, we're going to show our hero fall. We're going to show our hero make a bad choice. We're going to because she is a human being and she doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And there will be consequences to her bad choices. And it's modeling for younger and the whole time you're watching Buffy make these bad choices, you're like, no, girl, no, these choices are bad. But the show not romanticizing those choices, I think, was the key point. And I know for me as a teenage girl watching that show, I really related to so much of what Buffy went through. And again, it's really important that she's allowed to be fallible, but also like learn a lesson, you know? Oy vey, what a time. What a time. Let's see. Andrew says Cordelia needs to come back from the dead. I mean, Buffy died a couple of times. It's true. It's true. Yes. Oh my God, Steven, 100%. Steven says back then they also didn't cancel a show right away. Both Buffy and Charmed audiences grew over time after the first season or two. Preach, 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 preach. Justin also points out that Invincible season 3 is this week. Save Me says, how would you bring back David Boreanaz and James Marsters back as ageless vampires when they no longer look 20? I mean, good question. Maybe they will not be back. I don't know. I don't know. Sam says, I don't know many people besides me who watch James Marsters in Marvel's Runaways. I have not seen Runaways. James Marsters will also be Brainiac. Oh, what does that mean? Say more, Andrew. Speaking of, should we look at the actual article that is going to tell us the details here? Let's see what information we have. Share screen, Buffy, share, add to stage. Ooh, I'm tiny. Look how small I am. Wait, there we go. Okay, so, whoop, I'm so tiny in my screen now. Okay, so, ZSH, don't get get emotional. Feel your feelings. It's all good. Steven says Willow and Tara's relationship was historic at time for TV. It really was. Another Mr. Lizard says, in a show with magic, just say they got cursed off screen to age but never died. That's really funny. That's really funny. That's and makes perfect sense. Oh, I see. Andrew says James Marsters was great in Smallville as Brainiac. Yes, yes, yes. I got you. And Ronan says, y'all ain't ready for Invincible season 3. Wow, Brian, oh my God. He is aging. It's wild how good he's aging. How well he's aging, excuse me. What terrible English that was. Okay, cool. Let's read some details. How about it? Buffy the Vampire Slayer sequel series with Sarah Michelle Gellar returning nears Hulu pilot order. With Oscar winner Chloe Zhao attached to direct. Variety has learned from sources that a sequel series to the beloved show Buffy the Vampire Slayer is nearing a pilot order at Hulu. Okay, I just want to stop for a second and say, Gishgali says, I like having this show back. When I see an article like this on show day, I don't bother reading it. Good. I'm glad I'm trying to read, I try to read everything fresh with you all as well. So I'm learning too. And Steven says people forget Pedro Pascal was the priest in the Buffy finale season. So I want to stop right there though. Gishgali, I have a question for you since you are an industry insider. So M. Santiago is hitting on exactly what I was going to say. So M. Santiago says, correct me if I'm wrong, but also pilot order doesn't mean that we'll ever see it, right? If they don't like the pilot. This is exactly what I was going to say. I find this a little strange that considering how most streamers, if they really are excited about a project, will just do a straight to series order. And by the way, a lot of these series for season 1 will be like 8 episodes. Maybe they'll increase if they pick up a season 2. Also, I do know that a lot of times series will say they've only greenlit 1, but the deal is actually done for 1 and 2. But it's like a total of 16 episodes. So really, it's like what we used to think of as a full season. But for money and legal purposes, they split them up into 2 seasons. So yeah, I'm really surprised actually that it would just be a pilot order and it wouldn't be a straight to series, especially with Sarah Michelle back and especially knowing that it's IP. Gishgali says that is correct. Most streamers have a straight to series policy. Hulu doesn't have that policy. They do make pilots. All right, let's keep going. So sources say that Sarah Michelle Gellar is in final talks to once again play the iconic title character in the Untitled project, although it would focus on a new Slayer and Gellar would appear in a recurring role rather than leading the series. Yes, that makes sense. Nora Zuckerman and Lila Zuckerman are attached to write, showrun, and executive produce. Should we look them up real fast? Nora and Lila Zuckerman. Oh, from Poker Face. Got it. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay, copy that. I'm just looking up on IMDb some of Nora's credits. Cool. Those are good. Honestly, I feel like Poker Face plus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. equals Buffy. So that seems like the right person for the job. Or the right people for the job. Sam says, ooh, any related Poker Face related person, I'm in. And M. Santiago says, I love Poker Face. So hyped for season 2. Let's see. Chloe Zhao is attached to direct and executive produce under her Book of Shadows production banner. Gellar would also executive produce along with Gail Berman. Fran and Kaz Kazooie will executive produce via Sweet Bee, while Dolly Parton, just casually, Dolly Parton will executive produce via Sand Dollar. 20th Century Television and Searchlight Television will produce. Berman, the Kazooies, and Parton were all original executive producers on the original series. I don't know how I didn't know that about Dolly Parton. Wait a minute. That's how did I not know that as a Buffy super fan? Wait, now we got to look up Now we gotta look up Dolly's credits, producer credits. I am going down. It can't be. Is it this? It can't be. Is it? Yes, it is. That's crazy. She was an uncredited executive producer on Buffy. Oh my gosh. This just when I thought I could not like Dolly Parton anymore. I feel like that is trivia that maybe we should be talking about more. Uh Sam says, I just looked it up and Nora apparently wrote the Joseph Gordon Levitt episode of Poker Face. I have not seen Poker Face, so I don't know what that means, but I take it that is a good thing. I know Peacock is like the only one that I don't have. But okay. Now I'm curious, Variety article. Are you gonna get into the Joss Whedon? Yeah, here it is. Okay. Yeah, great. What do they have to say here? Noticeably absent from the show's creative team is Joss Whedon, who created the original series and oversaw its 7-season run. As Variety reported in 2021, Whedon was accused of creating a toxic work environment on both Buffy and the spin-off series Angel by nearly a dozen people associated with the show. Buffy and Angel actress Charisma Carpenter also spoke out against Whedon, with fellow cast members like Amber Benson and Michelle Trachtenberg backing up her accusations. Whedon responded to those and other allegations against him in January 2022, admitting that he had been, quote, not mannerly with Carpenter, but otherwise saying, quote, most of my experiences with Charisma were delightful and charming. Buffy the Vampire Slayer originated. Okay, we know this. I'm just so curious. Like, I guess, I mean, he created the show, so he's gonna make money off of it. But ultimately, it is not up to him. And just for a little context, we kind of talked about it a while ago, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer has proven to be a massive cult hit and highly influential since its debut. The series is credited for helping to popularize ongoing story arcs in television, while also building a show around a strong female lead. It is frequently cited as one of the best televisions of all time, which I totally agree with. Meanwhile, Whedon previously penned a series of comic books with Dark Horse that continued the story of the series, though no new Buffy project has ever made it to screen. Most recently, it was reported in 2018 that Monica Oyusu Breen was working on a reboot of the series with Whedon on board as an executive producer, but ultimately that did not go forward. Yeah. Okay. So that's the story. Let's see. Gishgali says the cool part is that Dolly kept her name off because she thought people might not take the show seriously with her involved. No, it's true. It's kind of like how Mel Brooks took his name and off of the Elephant Man, because he was like, he didn't want people to think that the movie was a joke. But Mel Brooks produced not only David Lynch's The Elephant Man, but David Cronenberg's The Fly, produced by Brooks Films and Mel Brooks. Yes, CSH says, Dolly Parton, just when you think you couldn't love someone more. Steven says, Dolly helping find COVID vaccine and producing Buffy. What can't she do? It's so true. Isn't it so true? We stand. We love her. Fun fact, the first job I ever had as a professional actor was in high school. I worked for one of Dolly's amusement parks. I did the train show. I played a cowgirl in high school. And so technically, Dolly Parton was my boss in a way. So we're all 6 degrees of Dolly, if we should be so lucky. Okay. So this is an interesting, we do have a little interesting theme going on in some of the stories that people wanted to talk about today. They wanted to talk about the Emilia Perez conversation. It was also suggested to cover this article. Now, I could not find this Screen Geek. I don't know anyone at screengeek.net. I have never actually really even heard of this website, but they're reporting exclusively that Kevin Feige is considering bringing Jonathan Majors back to the MCU. course, Jonathan Majors was convicted of, well, let me actually just get it all right. Um, let's not misspeak here. The actor was first dropped by Marvel on December 18th, 2023, not long after he was found guilty on 2 misdemeanor charges that followed after a March 2023 argument with his former girlfriend. The legal situation shook the entertainment landscape as a result. Majors lost several roles in addition to being dropped by Marvel. In April 2024, he was sentenced to serve 52 weeks at an in-person domestic violence intervention program. Now, according to this website, Marvel's head, Kevin Feige, is considering bringing him back to the MCU. The idea is for Majors to appear in future Marvel project to wrap up some loose ends with the Kang and close the character's arc. Yeah. So I bring this up because, this also, I was asked last week to talk about the Neil Gaiman allegations, which again, I don't want to really get into. If you read the article, you read the article. But this week, it was announced that The Sandman will end with season 2 at Netflix. And on top of that, it was also announced that a musical version of Coraline was being canceled. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about all of this, but we did talk about a couple weeks ago here on the show and also on Christian Harloff's show when I was there. We did talk about how when is Netflix going to get rid of this dropping every single episode at once? And The Sandman was always the example I thought of. This is a show that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on. This is a show that is internationally acclaimed and understood IP. This is a show that should have been a show that everyone was talking about. And instead, Netflix drops the whole season, just drops like hundreds of millions of dollars on Netflix in one weekend, and then nobody ever talked about it again. And I just think that that's crazy. I think that's totally crazy. So with this example in particular, I'm not entirely sure that this is directly related to the Neil Gaiman situation. I think this is just an out because the show didn't do very well. And they are dropping season 2 later this year. But so yeah, I just I don't know. I don't know. Let's go to chat. Let's see. Top Dog says, "Hi Clarke, we love Dolly here in South Africa too. Love to hear that. We love Dolly. She's an international treasure." Okay, about the Jonathan Majors, Kevin Feige story, M. Santiago says, that seems sus, as the kids say. Here, let me share this so that there's a little context as to what we're talking about here. There we go. Gishgali says that is nonsense. They've already moved everything over to Doctor Doom. Also, I mean, the idea, like, they're taking a really big swing and they're bringing Downey back. That's not cheap, and that there was a lot of time and effort and energy that went into, oh, I forgot to add 2 stage. Oops. There was a lot of time and energy that went into that decision to bring Dr. Doom back. They're not going to have Robert playing second fiddle or like finishing up. I mean, yeah, this story does not ring true to me, but someone, if you're in chat, please feel free to claim this one. But someone asked me to talk about it. And so, yeah, I'm glad though that we're sort of all on the same page that this sounds kind of weird. Top Dog says, "Let the multiverse nonsense die after Secret Wars, please. Kang's story was wrapped up after Loki season 2. Claiborne, hi Claiborne, says, "Yeah, it's hard for me to believe this Jonathan Majors story. We can't imagine they'd even want to work together again after everything ended." But also it's yes, and it was a weird ending, and also story-wise, it just doesn't seem to make sense. And then this is also how I feel, Amra. Just recast Kang. I do I feel I feel disappointed, and I know a couple of other fans felt this way too, that Marvel didn't figure out a way to have a new Black Panther after the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman. I love the idea of honoring that role and him being synonymous with that role, but at the same time, I don't think that the character should be shelved forever. You know, that character's very important to a lot of people, and that character was the center of two very successful movies. So I don't know. But to this point, to your point, Amra, like I do think that recasting Kang is not the worst thing I've ever heard of. In fact, we know that Marvel has done this in the past. They've had to recast actors before, and and everybody is fine. Like it didn't bother. It was not a deal breaker with fans. So Steve says, have you seen the trailer for Jonathan Majors' movie Magazine Dreams? I have not seen it yet. I've not seen the trailer. But I will say I did keep up with this case, the MCU of it all. Obviously, Magazine Dreams was supposed to be a huge Oscar contender this year. It was just picked up by the production company that released The Apprentice. So obviously another very controversial title. But no, I have not seen the trailer for Magazine Dreams. Let's see. Steven says, I didn't see them bringing him back in Ant-Man 3. Didn't even do well at the box office. I see them just moving away from Kang altogether and moving into Doom. Yeah, same. Totally agree. And Arun agrees. I doubt they will bring back Kang after how poorly his character was received in Ant-Man 3. Totally. And Mike says, I wanted to see where they were going with the Kang storyline. That's totally fair. That is totally, totally fair. Andrew says, I agree, Clarke. I didn't want to watch Black Panther 2 because it didn't feel right without Chadwick Boseman. And Sam says, it seems they might age up the son of Black Panther to take the mantle. I think that's a great idea. I think that's a really, really great idea. Oh my gosh, Top Dog. Yes. Coleman Domingo would have been a good Kang. Oh, yes. If you guys found me from Fear HQ, you know we watched Fear the Walking Dead, and Coleman Domingo as Victor Strand, just one of the most fun, crazy, awesome performances of a villain. And yeah, Coleman Domingo can do whatever he wants, truly, and seems like he is, so good for him. But also at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Sam says, I don't care about Kang. I'm tired of the multiverse. I'm leaning more towards grounded storytelling like Penguin. That's fair. That's totally fair. And then Gishgali says, Kang is a character is based on having millions of different versions, so recasting it is easy. That's great. Oh, and yeah, Steven says, I think you will get another T'Challa, but it was too soon for the cast when they were filming Black Panther 2. 100%. 100%. I do think it needs to be. I think chat, I think you're right. Like, I think that his son is a great way to go about this conversation. Now, back to the sort of Netflix of it all. Top Dog says, same thing's going to happen with Stranger Things last season. I hate Netflix's model. It does feel like a relic in a way. You know what I mean? It feels like Netflix's model is like a relic from a bygone time. Gosh, what was oh, you know what it was? I was listening to an episode. I had listened to it when it came out, but it was just in the feed again. And I was listening to an episode of How Did This Get Made, where they did a crossover episode with the Blank Check podcast, and they actually talked about Zack Snyder's Justice League and how it's this 4 hour, right? This whole 4 hour ordeal. It's broken up into chapters. Like it, it's not a movie in the traditional sense of what a movie is. And, but of course, it came out at a time where like, it was being made at a time where it would have seemed totally unthinkable to potentially bring that to like the quote unquote small screen. Whereas now, Penguin just got brought up, like an 8 hour mini series essentially that is The Sopranos with Oz Cobb. You know what I mean? So I do feel like I bring this up because I feel like it so much of this is about time and place in terms of the form of the storytelling and the format of the storytelling. And so I really hope that I really hope that this isn't true, Top Dog. But Steven also adds, I kind of liked how they did season 4 of Stranger Things. When it was the finale about a month later, it drew the conversation out longer. I totally agree, Steven. At the very least, like if they were smart, they would stretch it. 6 weeks is like, it makes sense, right? And of course we know they did that because they had to finish some visual effects. But the only thing that I'll say about the Stranger Things example is that for me, I felt like the momentum of Stranger Things season 4, that first chunk was so good. Like it was all working for me and I was in it and I was on that ride, and then it stops. You go, okay, I'm going to wait a couple of weeks and then I'm going to get the conclusion. And then when the conclusion is not satisfying, you're like, oh. And it's actually, it kind of feels like a detriment to the overall story. But I think what that gets to is the idea that like if you didn't shoot it that way, or if the writing team didn't particularly or intentionally structure it that way, it's not as satisfying. So I think this is just the conversation in the bigger Netflix, like it's just the bigger Netflix conversation in general. But I'm glad that's actually a very, very good segue into this article that came out this week about the Duffers and the final Stranger Things season. They gave a little update. Also, I saw you in the chat talking about Ethan Embry's casting for Scream 7. We can definitely talk about that. Definitely talk about that. I pulled that article too, actually, and because jokingly, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ethan lives in Georgia. And so I've been joking for the last couple of weeks that why didn't I get to audition for Scream 7? Because I also sometimes live in Georgia. And everybody's getting to be in this movie except me, and I'm very disappointed about it. But yes, we will get to that. Okay. Let's see. Eric, oh my gosh. Eric, I feel like this happened last week too. We just spent the whole first hour of the show talking about Buffy. So what you should do is go back, like go back and then catch up with us. But here's the short version is Noxon, Espenson, Goddard. I think they've all kind of moved on, to be honest. And it seems like it's just a different showrunner and different showrunners and just a different creative team in general. So I don't know. Obviously, like the article in Variety didn't mention about them and if they were going to come back or not. But I think it's just the idea that it's a totally different creative team, which is not a bad idea. So Aaron says, I think they will release Stranger Things 5 in 2 parts, like they did with season 4. Gishgali says, I think Stranger Things owed a lot of its success to the classic Netflix model. Great point. Well, and this is the other thing. I mean, if you've ever heard creators, writers, directors, etc., talking about the Netflix model, I think as long as they know what they're writing for, then you know how to structure that story. Let's use the example too right now of Netflix. Rufus agrees. Netflix is now there's commercials. Now there's commercials in Netflix. And it's like, okay, that's nobody's writing for the commercials, or at least the original Netflix model that Kishgali is mentioning, like the classic Netflix model. It works if you do it the way that you can't sell ads in the middle of it, like I feel like it's if the original Netflix model of series pickup, creative freedom and writing for that type of distribution, if that is not doesn't exist anymore because Netflix decided, oh, and also now we're going to sell ads. And it's like, okay, well then if you're going to break the model, you might as well break it otherwise too. Like maybe we don't drop everything because it's a different time and it's a different place. And I don't know. I just feel like they very conveniently I feel like Netflix conveniently is like, well, no, that's just not how we do things at Netflix, except for when it's time to break up the format and add commercials. Then it's okay for us to change things a little. It's just like, come on, come on. Um, okay, let's keep going. Yeah, Amra Amra says Netflix, pick a lane and stick with it. Um, no, Eric, I have not seen the show Evil. I have not seen that. Another Mr. Lizard. This is true. Also, another Mr. Lizard says, "Come on now, Clarke. You just want your Joe Curie fix spread out over several weeks." You all know that I've been ride or died for Steve since the beginning. I've been a Team Steve since the beginning, before it was cool. I've always loved Steve. Always been Team Steve. Steven says, I think their drops should vary show to show. Some shorter animated shows like Castlevania make better binges. Agree. Totally agree, Steven. But shows like Stranger Things that have long episodes could easily break up. Jeremy says, poor Eric. Yes, I have this pulled, Steve. I promise I have this pull. No worries, Eric. I'm so happy you join us. I'm so happy you join us. And I hope you didn't think I was being mean to you. I love that you're here. Thank you for being here. ZSH says America needs to get back to appointment TV culture ASAP, and Netflix desperately needs to understand that. I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching, Saturday Night Live is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And so while I haven't watched like anything from start to finish, I have watched a handful of the classic clips that they pull. I have been watching some of the casts like talking about iconic moments and iconic characters. And to your point, ZSH, I actually really got nostalgic for a time when pop culture, like we kind of all agreed on what pop culture was, and so it was so fun every Saturday night to like tune in and watch Will Ferrell become Will Ferrell, or Amy Poehler or Tina Fey. Like you're watching these you're just watching stars be made, and you're also watching like some of this like great comedians and weird stuff start to break through in a good way. And I was thinking about how it's just like, yeah, like and SNL is such a different, it gets its own beast. But I was thinking about, yeah, we just don't have a common pop culture North Star anymore. Like there's just no appointment. There is no appointment anything. And we burn through pop culture so fast. It's like it's kind of a bummer, not to be a bummer. And I hope I don't sound like an old like my day, but I was just kind of, I'm a creative myself. And so when I'm writing or when I'm trying to dream up ideas or whatever, I'm just like at this point I'm like, wow, I don't even know. It just feels like we don't have a North Star in any way when it comes to pop culture. And it's too bad because it was something that really did like connect people just in general. We're all kind of having a version of the same conversation. That's why I love when you guys say this feels like a water cooler show. That is like the biggest compliment because it's like, yeah, we're all just talking about the stuff that we like. Okay. Anyway, Eric says, Clarke, I hope they bring back some original Buffy casts in some. I totally agree. And I have to imagine they will. I really, really have to imagine they will. If the cast wants to come back, I can't imagine that that would be off the table. And hell yeah, Top Dog. I got to see this movie. I got to see this movie like 2 or 3 years before it finally came out. And I saw this at Fantastic Fest. And I was just like, I think it was like the first year I went to Fantastic Fest. If it wasn't, it was the second. And I was just like jaw drop. And then I was like, where is this movie? Why hasn't it come out yet? And then when we did have Collider Nightmares, Ethan came into the studio and I did an interview, a sit down with him about Devil's Candy. It was really fun to get to support that movie because I did get to see it early and I really did love it. And Ethan and I kept in touch on Twitter for a long time. And now, of course, that was the other thing I was thinking about. Like, honestly, I'm so disappointed. Yes, this is where my head was. To your point about like appointment television. And and I was talking about pop culture, I was thinking about Twitter, honestly, and old Twitter and how it was such a cool way and to connect with peers. And it was also such a cool way if you were like me and you're like, oh, well, I'm up and coming in an industry and I told a joke on Twitter and Patton Oswalt liked it. And you're just like, oh my God. And then that's how I met Lee Winnell. I met Lee, and I mean, we're not like best friends, but we know each other. And like I met him on Twitter. He was the first kind of famous person to ever follow me on Twitter. And like I met James Gunn that way. And like, and through other stuff, but like this is just to say, and I'm not name dropping. I'm just like, it was so fun to be able to be like, wow, these people that I admire professionally and like they liked my joke or they found me because they're a fan too, or they watched Movie Talk. That was the other thing. Like amazing comic book people watched AMC Movie Talk, so anyway, I was just nostalgic for a time where like you really could, even if you weren't in the literal room with some of these incredible people who you admire or whatever, you could be in the figurative room with them. And it was really, but honestly, the more I think about it, I think that's the point of taking that away is like, I think there's, it's anyway, I'm waxing poetic over effing Twitter. Okay. Let's see. Eric says, I love when a revival treat things with respect, like Cobra Kai. Top Dog said, and Cowbell. Another Mr. Lizard said, SNL isn't a thing here. Fair. M. Santiago says, the Devil's Candy never gets talked about, and it's criminal. It's incredible. ZSH says, pop culture via TV can potentially be wholesome, healing, and bring us all together. Yep, totally. Steven says, even award shows, totally. Oh my God, the VMAs. Just what a time. Even award shows like the VMA, Grammys, and Oscars don't feel like a pop culture event watch as they used to be. Yeah, for sure. Totally. Alan says, I'm followed by Mary Lambert, directed by Pet Cemetery. That's awesome. Yes, that was another one I will say that I loved was when William Friedkin followed me on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, William Friedkin follows me on Twitter. Or Matt Reeves. Oh, I remember for all you Collider Nightmares friends in the chat, because so many of you guys talk about that show. I remember somebody gave me so much, people in the comment section always gave me a lot of crap. They still do. But it was the nightmares conversation that we had. And it was like, why are we talking about, what was the show? Was it, or movie? Was it Cloverfield? No, it was Apes. We were talking about Matt Reeves had joined the Planet of the Apes trilogy. And I talked about it on Collider Nightmares because it's genre. And for a lot of people, the Planet of the Apes are very scary. So anyway, someone gave me such a hard time about it in the comments. And because Matt Reeves, he followed me on Twitter. So I didn't even DM him. I just added him and I was like, hey, Matt Reeves, someone in the comments section is telling me that they don't think that, Planet of the Apes counts as horror or genre. what do you think? And he's like, that's not right. Like, he was totally on my side. And I was like, yeah. So RIP Twitter. What a time. Okay. Anyway, we'll get to uh Final Destination. Wait, what is this? Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy legal fight intensifies? Hilarious. We're fighting over everything. We just fight over everything. Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. Oy vey. Okay. Um Okay, so Stranger Things creators Matt and Ross Duffer took time to mourn the end, share hopes for a 2025 release. And then they say it's, quote, quite the push. They're sad that the show wrapped. This was an article based on accepting the Variety Showrunner Award at SCAD TV Fest. So they say that right now we're just cutting all the visual. No. So the status of Stranger Things is right now we are just cutting all the visual effects sequences for the show so they can get started on those so that why does it keep happening? So that they can be running in time for a release. And when might that be? Quote, a lot of it hasn't been decided in terms of exactly the release dates and cadence. That's one reason I'm not allowed to talk about it. We're getting on a call in a couple weeks about it. I just know it was very important for us and Netflix that we got it out this year, but even that is quite the push. You remember how a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the big numbers for Netflix when they release something at the holidays, like Carry On or Bird Box? Maybe this will be a Christmas release. Let's see. What else do they say? Ross Duffer says they're, quote, working as fast as we possibly can, knowing it's been nearly 3 years since we last saw our young heroes. Even season 4, we cut that so tight. We were dropping in visual effects shots the day after the launch. So hopefully we'll be a little more on schedule this year. Now it's just sort of climbing up another hill. Kate Bush reference. Love it. As we head towards finally finishing this. Oh my gosh, they made the same joke. Hilarious. Wait, don't you mean running up that hill? Funny. Okay. I guess that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Okay. Oh, wait. Let's get an update. What are they doing after the Stranger Things finale? It's been 9 years of our lives just telling this one story. So there's certainly some anxiety of what's next and what's it going to be like. Luckily, we are able to just focus on the edit. So those thoughts aren't overwhelming us yet, but I'm sure they will be. Allegedly, they were going to be working on an adaptation of Stephen King's The Talisman, which made me very curious because I started reading that book and I did not like it. So I stopped reading it. Okay. Before we get to Final Destination, M3GAN 2.0. Yeah. Let's see. Nicholas said, if a star followed me on social media, I would probably never stop freaking out about it. I mean, clearly I just talked for 5 minutes straight about those memories, those core professional memories. Okay. Yeah, and Eric says before all the kids look 30. Another Mr. Lizard says 5 years for 9 years for 5 short seasons. Ridiculous. I know. Another Mr. Lizard. It is kind of wild how COVID and then writer's strike and then actor strike. It was like so many of those years and those delays were as a result of just completely unforeseen circumstances. All right. Shall I connect so we can watch some stuff? Power on. Let's do it. Connected. Great. All right. So we had some really fun. Well, actually, so I will admit, even though I try to only watch these things straight with you guys, I think James Wan shared the teaser for Megan, and so I watched it on Instagram. But uh that is to say, let's watch it real fast. Brian says Megan 2.0 going the T2 route. I I have to tell you, I was very sus, as the kids say, about I was very sus about Megan because I felt like the internet kind of decided that it was like the best thing ever before they even saw the movie. And then when people said, "Oh my god, the movie's so good," I was like, I mean, is it so good? Like, or do you just think it's funny because it's a meme? But then I saw the movie and I was like, "Oh my god." And I loved it. It was such a great experience. And I do have to say I got to see it in a very crowded theater on a Saturday night, prime showing. And so that movie going experience was so fun. I would imagine like a friend of mine or a boyfriend at the time, another boyfriend at the time, he said, "Oh yeah, well, I know how much you loved Megan and how good you thought it was." And he was like, "So I watched it at home and like I thought it was okay." And I was like, "Yeah, because you didn't watch it with a theater. Like some things that are horror and that are so funny and silly and brutal are supposed to be seen like together." Um Speaking of, y'all, tonight I'm going to see The Monkey. So I will definitely report back. Steven says we need a Megan versus Chucky, Godzilla versus Kong style. That's funny. I would not be mad at that. Sam says the Megan 2.0 teaser is so camp. They literally said the bitch is back. I know. Let's watch it. And then Eric says, are they making a Megan Chucky crossover? Or was that just internet rumor? I think as far as we know, that's just internet rumor. I love this suggestion, Nicholas. They should make the trailer for Megan 2.0 the only trailer. The less we know, the better it will be. Megan is a fun movie. The funniest scenes are just her singing Sia. Gosh, it was so funny. Eric, I had no idea. I had no idea how like straight that scene was played. And I was just like, oh, oh, this is great. And yeah, just big fan. Um, Eric says smart marketing to use Chapel Roan. It really popped on social media. Agreed. Um, Mike says, have you seen the plot description for Megan 2.0? Seems like it's going to be a crazy movie. Let's see. I want to see. Yeah, I'll let you guys know how the monkey is. Okay, let's watch the teaser. It's just a teaser. It's very short. And I do agree. Oh, you embedded a Twitter link? Alrighty. Get serious. Okay. Megan 2.0. Here we go. Whoop. Let's make it big.
Hit it like, get it hot, make a bitch. It's a fact. Hit it like, get it hot, make a bitch.
Miss me?
So really, really fun. I will say perhaps these VFX were not finished. I did kind of feel like she looked like a video game. She did not look like a doll. But that's okay. Who cares? Who cares? Let's see. Chat says this made me laugh, Sam. Awesome. This is cinema. Just like Dan Stevens coming out of the shower in The Guest. Cinema. Uh, Eric says this trailer aired during the Grammys. Jeremy says, I'm here for it. LOL. Mirror says, will the doll be older in this one? Who can say? Sam says, that girl can dance like nobody's business. David, yes, we are going to do the Final Destination trailer after this. I promise. Sam says, I will forever be mesmerized by her dancing. It's a vibe. Dolls are so creepy. All I need is for this to be fun. That's it. And my butt will be in the theater opening night. Agreed. Yeah, we just need to all have a good time with this one, y'all. Let's see if, oh, here we go. Here's a quick synopsis. Whoa, that's a very long synopsis, I have to say. Okay. The murderous doll who captivated pop culture in 2023 is back, and this time, she's not alone. The original creative team behind the phenomenon, led by horror titans James Wan for Atomic Monster, Jason Blum for Blumhouse, and director Gerard Johnstone, reboot an all-new wild chapter in AI mayhem with M3GAN 2.0. 2 years after M3GAN, a marvel of artificial intelligence went rogue and embarked on a murderous and impeccably choreographed rampage and was subsequently destroyed. M3GAN's creator, Gemma, played by Allison Williams, who I have to say, this rarely happens, y'all, but like when I was sitting in that theater, I was like, damn, I wish I were more famous. I wish I could have this part. I wish I could have played Allison Williams' part. I would have had so much fun. Okay, anyway. Has become a high-profile author and advocate for government oversight of AI. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Gemma's niece, Katie, played by Violet McGraw, now 14, has become a teenager rebelling against Gemma's overprotective rules. Unbeknownst to them, the underlying tech for M3GAN has been stolen and misused by a powerful defense contractor to create a military-grade weapon known as Emilia. Whoa. Played by Ivana Sakno from Ahsoka and Pacific Rim Uprising. The ultimate killer infiltration spy. But as Emilia's self-awareness increases, she becomes decidedly less interested in taking orders from humans or keeping them around. Oh my God, they're going to fight. We're going to watch these doll robots fight. It's going to be wonderful. Oh boy. Top Dog says, M3GAN was such a great surprise. We need that bitch back in our lives. Agreed. ZSH says, the monkey in the hands of Oz Perkins will be a great horror comedy, I'm sure. I'm very excited to see it. Just the fact that Allison Williams is back makes me even more excited. She was so badass in the original movie. Let's see. Eric says she's so good as Fennec Shan in Ahsoka. M. Santiago. Wait a minute. Says, I'm pumped. Mike Joyce says she's fighting Skynet. No, I will not do that, Gishgali. Yes, this is how I feel, David. Let them fight. That's exactly it. That's so it. Aaron says, it's Terminator 2 with M3GAN. Sam says, hell yeah. Eric says that episode of Black Mirror with the creepy Miley Cyrus doll was the scariest thing ever. And Sam said, I'm glad they not only brought Allison Williams back, but also let her be a producer in this universe. Yes. All right. So M3GAN will be here soon, honestly. Totally wild. Wait a minute. They give us is it May? Yes, no, June. M3GAN 2 only in theaters on June 27th. Okay. Wait, where is oh no, in my tabs. Okay, let's watch the Final Destination trailer. David, you've been so patient. Okay. Final Destination, Bloodlines. I feel like we have been hearing about this movie for 100 years, and it's finally here. And I am so curious. So, a fun fact, my guest on Thursday, Dylan Guerra, and I randomly, I was staying with him in New York one time, and we came home from like drinks or something, and we were talking about Final Destination, and he was like, "Oh my god, should we watch Final Destination 2?" Or I can't remember which one we started with. And y'all, we ended up watching the entire Final Destination franchise on that trip. So this is to say that I'm here for this new Final Destination movie. We've all been waiting for it. Oh, hey, Chris, welcome. Chris says, is it confirmed that Tony Todd is in Final Destination 6? I don't know, but we can certainly look it up. Megan Anti-Hero is going to be great. I hope she has a dance off with the bad robot. Top Dog, you know she will. You know she will. And that's what the people paid to see. That is what the people paid to see. Steve says, yes, Tony is in the movie. All right, well. Oh boy. Let's watch the teaser trailer for Final Destination Bloodlines.
My old man just died. I come in as a favor, and now they want me to lock up.
Hey, 5-star review, yeah? Like and subscribe and all the things.
Oh, gosh. What's happening?
No, I can't forget this evening or your face.
What's he doing? Oh, is he texting himself? Ah! What? Could have done without all these close-ups of skin and tongues. Gross.
Yes, it shows.
Oh my god.
Oh, you got me.
Oh my god.
Come on.
Oh my god. Wow. Jaw on the floor. May 16th. Oh my goodness. Wow. 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 Amra says, Final Destination, the most misleading title since the Neverending Story. That's really funny, Amra. Brian says, I must confess, I only like the first Final Destination movie. That is fair. Ronan says, I love this song. I can't believe they use it this way. You'll never hear it the same way again. Oh God. And that's why I don't have a nose ring. Yep. Jaw dropped. That's Richard Herman from this 100. Wow. Well, yeah. That's do you think that's the cold open of the movie, maybe? Like the opening scene? Because they really just get into it. Like, I will say they should probably not have called that a teaser. Like, maybe that call that a clip, because that seemed like a clip. Also, I would have liked just a little bit of like this May. Like, maybe make it a trailer. Like, it's not hard. I don't know. That was weird. Top Dog says they had my curiosity. Now they have my attention. Yeah, that was something. Blah. Wow. Is there even a Oh my gosh. Look at these YouTube descriptions. These people are getting paid by the word. Um, if you screw with death's plans, things can get very messy. Okay, I'm going to read the synopsis because honestly, I actually did not follow along with like I don't know what this movie is about and why it's called Bloodlines. The newest chapter in New Line Cinema's bloody successful franchise takes audiences back to the very beginning of death's twisted sense of justice. Final Destination Bloodlines. Plagued by a violent recurring nightmare, college student Stephanie heads home to track down the one person who might be able to break the cycle and save her family from the grisly demise that inevitably awaits all of them. Tony Todd confirmed. Final Destination Bloodlines stars Caitlin Santa Juana, Tio Briones, Richard Herman, Owen Patrick, Joyner, Raya Kilstead, Anna Lore, with Breck Bassinger and Tony Todd. The film is directed by Adam Stein and Zach Lipovsky, and the screenplay is by Guy Busack and Lori Evans Taylor. Story is by John Watts and Guy Busack and Lori Evans Taylor, based on the characters created by Jeffrey Reddick. Well, all right. Very fun. And comes out in May 16th. Oh, and internationally, another Mr. Lizard. I know we always talk about international release dates. Nationwide in the US on May 16th and internationally beginning on the 14th. Oh, that's a good point, another Mr. Lizard. Maybe it has nothing to do with the film at all, just a fun death for a trailer. Maybe. Sam says, apparently all this time I could have just figured out the plot reading the YouTube descriptions. I mean, I feel like they did not used to be this involved, you know? But yeah, wow, that was something. Nicholas says, maybe it's just me, but I wish there were more trailers with voiceovers. That's what I grew up with. And I think you did too, Clarke. I did. I do remember like the In a World. Like I do remember that. But you know, I'm also used to the title cards, you know, kind of popping up and circling through. M. Santiago says death is targeting a family instead of a group of strangers. Oh, that's interesting. And Top Dog says Bloodlines in a horror sequel's title is usually a major red flag, but this one actually looks good. That's funny, Top Dog, and you are not wrong. Yeah, okay. Well, we got a lot to look forward to, don't we? What other stories did I pull for today? Well, I did pull once again. Ethan Embry has joined Scream 7. This picture is him from Devil's Candy, as we discussed. Any details about who he's playing? The list of potential ghost face suspects and victim grows as Deadline reports that Ethan Embry has joined the cast of Scream 7. Plot details are being kept under wraps, of course, but the latest installment is a slasher saga expected to bring the focus back to Sydney and her family. Okay, so we don't know. We don't know what he's up to, except getting ripped. Getting ripped. Yes, you did, Alan Smithy. You did direct Hellraiser Bloodlines, and it was awesome. You're right. Brian doesn't want any VO in his trailers. Yes, M. Santiago says Ethan Embry, Scott Foley, Matthew Lillard, wild casting. Miro says Stu's back. That's so cool. That was such an awesome breaking news. That was you, Brian, right? Who broke the news to us at the end of our stream on Thursday. It was so wild that we were live and like we got to experience that together. So the theory is that these are, and I think someone in chat even pointed this out too, but the theory is that these are like Ghostface past, so they're really kind of just like visions, right? And it's got to be that, like Sydney being haunted by the ghost face of her past. or her family. It's all taking it back to the family. And technically Roman, I guess, was her brother. Gosh, golly. I wish. I wish. I don't think they have any parts for me to audition for, to be honest. Top Dog says Embry's turn from wide-eyed innocent teen to complete badass is so metal. It's true. It's true. Steven says, what outside of the original Scream is your favorite Scream movie? Scream 2. I love Scream 2. I think it's great. I think it is an excellent, excellent movie. I think it's the sequel is good. I think it's funny. I think it's so, and knowing how fast they made that. I mean, the original movie comes out in Christmas 1996. That movie was in theaters Christmas 1997, y'all. I think Kevin is prolific, to say the least. Mike says, if Mason Gooding can survive getting stabbed a bunch of times, and Stu could survive to being a TV being dropped on his head. Oh, Dan, this is cool. Dan's Gaming says there is a theory that the killer will use AI voices of past killers. I like that. That's very clever. Brian says Ghostface cult, perhaps. I don't know, but I am definitely here for it. I'm just curious, and look, the cast is stacked. So, I do think that this is really like kind of a signal because Kevin is directing. I think it's kind of cool to see like how many people are coming back to the franchise and are showing up and want to work with Kevin. So, this is a good point though in Santiago. Would anyone really recognize Scott Foley's face? Maybe it's like deep fakes. Maybe it's like deep fakes where they are deep faking Ghostface killing people online. Who knows? Okay. Last little story, and then Top Dog, I will answer your question. Oh yeah, good point, Top Dog. Voice modulator was done in Scream 3 though. Oh wow, good point, Nicholas. In fact, the original Scream was out December 20th, 1996, and Scream 2 was out December 12th, 1997. Not even a full year between movies. The finish of Scream 2 is the best ending of the franchise. I agree. I love the first two Scream movies. To me, nothing in the franchise since or has ever touched. Like, I really like Scream 5. I don't like Scream 3. I don't like Scream 4. We talked about this, I think. I know that it's had a resurgence in popularity. Great. I don't, no disrespect. I like Scream 5. It's like, to me, it's like the Force Awakens of Scream movies. Scream 6 suffers from all of our cast is hot and famous now, and we can't kill any of them. So there's no stakes. I hate that. And as much as I love Mason Gooding, to use that example, like, he had such a great arc, and like what should have been his death scene in Scream 6, they changed their mind and they cheapened it by not actually, having him die. And he could have died a hero, and it was such a great arc for him. I understand. Again, I love Mason Gooding. I like watching him in everything. I'm not saying, oh, get rid of him. I'm just saying, like, it would have been great for the story. And instead, they pull their punches. And that's clearly a studio thing. I get it. But yeah, so to me, Scream 1 and Scream 2 are just it. Like, I think they're perfect together. I think in all the chaos of getting that second movie made, Kevin coming up with just what he came up with was brilliant. I thought the way Wes directed it was brilliant. I did a Wolf's Call on Scream 2, and Michael Kennedy, who will be here next week, he is scheduled to appear next week on Sending the Wolf. Scream 2 is his favorite. I think it's his favorite of the franchise, and it might be his favorite slasher movie ever. Scream 2 or Halloween, but I'm pretty sure it's Scream 2. He loves it. So anyway, What do we have in chat? Brian Knight says Scream 4 has grown on me. Fair. Another Mr. Lizard says 1996 and 1997. I haven't seen a Scream film this century. Top Dog says Scream 3 is lovably stupid. I mean, yes, I just don't like it because I think it's a bad script. I think it's the Weinsteins, like, they took the movie away from Kevin and like all that stuff. I love the opening sequence in Scream 3 with Cotton. I think that's great. And yes, Courtney Cox and Parker Posey doing a version of each other with each other is great. Like they are really funny together. And it was, and Gail has got like Courtney Cox has gotten to do some great work in this franchise. So we're here for that. We love that. But overall, woof. M. Santiago says Scream 1 and Scream 2 are kind of the reverse of Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2 in terms of villains. I'm sure that was intentional. Wait. I lost your comment. Oh, ZSH says, randomly just realized why having your show on YouTube now versus Twitch is so much better. I can project it onto my big screen now with just one click. Oh my God. How do I look in high def? Yeah, I actively decided to have the show on YouTube because more people could not only just get it easier, but also engage easier. Most people have a YouTube account versus the Twitch account, and all of that. Brian says, I wish they didn't rush Scream 6. Nicholas says, I blame the issues of Scream 3 by not having Kevin Williamson. I agree. Aaron Kruger is a good writer, but he was not a good fit for Scream 3. I totally agree with you, Nicholas, 100%. Mike says, I still need to see Scream 3. Yeah, M. Santiago, I don't disagree. I think all of the non-main cast in Scream 3 are unlikable and insufferable. Dan says, we should do a Scream 3 and 4 watch along. I'm not mad at that. Should we do it for Patreon? On our Patreon, maybe? Should that be what we watch this month? That could be fun. Except maybe Parker Posey. Yes, she's great. Brian says Roman was an awful villain and twist is very silly. Oh my God, Steven. Gail's bangs in Scream 3 can never be forgotten. It's so true. Sam says the entire franchise is just fun regardless of the quality. I will say I do agree with you, Sam. Of of all of the slasher franchises, highlights and lowlights, I do feel like Scream is the most consistently fun. There's always a good laugh. There's always a good joke. The performances are always good. It's fun. I actually saw a clip of Allison Brie talking about at Sundance. She was talking about being in Scream 4. And she was talking about how she loved working with Wes Craven and how he was this like gentle giant because he was very tall. And he had very soft spoken. And she was like, she does, spoiler alert, have a death scene. And so she was telling the story about how she has this death scene in Scream 4. And she's like really, acting scared and really dying. And Wes kind of came over and was like, just don't be afraid to have fun with it, with your death. Just have a little fun while you're dying. And she was like, what? And he was like, yeah, just have some fun while you die, And I was like, thank you, Wes. You were correct. That is good direction to give anybody. I agree. Top Dog says Mikey Madsen is great in Scream 5. It's even better knowing how soft-spoken and funny and sweet she is in real life. Steven says Scream held up way better in quality than Halloween. Even the bad Scream ones are still watchable. That I agree with for sure. I know seeing her in interviews for her Oscar campaign is a complete 180. I know. R.I.P. Wes, right? In Wes we trust. Okay. Let's just scroll through these little images real fast. The Last of Us season 2, new images of Joel, Ellie, Abby, and Dina. I do not know anything about season 2. I have never played the games, so I do not know what to expect. we've talked about it in chat a couple of times. Some people who've played the games are very excited for season 2, and some people are like, y'all ain't ready. So I'm ready to not be ready. Oops, I stripped the camera, sorry. So we don't have an exact premiere date for The Last of Us season 2, but HBO promises it is coming in April 2025. So that's just a couple months away. And yeah, here are the pics. Here they are. It's snowy. Spooky. Horses. Horsies. And there's Pedro. Yeah, no spoilies. Don't spoil it for us. Yeah, Brian says, I can't wait to see the reactions. Yeah, should be fun. It should be a good time. I'm excited. I really hope it's satisfying, if nothing else. But we'll see. All right, y'all. I did have a question in chat about some movies. What movies have I been watching? So I'll close out with that. And chat, please feel free to add some of your movie recommendations as well as we close things out. But I did make a list because I saw a bunch of movies this weekend. So I saw Companion. I really, really liked Companion. And actually, for those of you who are a member of the Discord, I put in the Discord today, should we start like a spoiler channel where we can have like open spoilery conversations about certain things? But then I realized, well, how do we we got a spoiler alert? I don't know. But I did because I wanted to talk about Companion, but it's not fair because some people haven't seen it. But I really, really, really enjoyed Companion way more than I thought I would. So highly recommend. It's worth seeing in a theater. My theater got a lot of laughs. It's a really fun movie. Mike says, yes, more channels. I know. I'm trying to come up with channels for us. What else? I saw a movie called Green and Gold. I mentioned that. It is like the Packers. So totally understand if you cannot watch it because you have different allegiances. But it was a sweet, very very indie kind of heartwarming drama. I watched the first half of Emilia Perez because I just wasn't loving it. So I just turned it off. I didn't want to keep going. Rewatched. So also last night, as I mentioned, we watched My Bloody Valentine 3D, 2009, My Bloody Valentine 3D. So much fun. But after that, we watched El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Now, it's funny, I've been talking about a lot of date stories this evening, but I have one more. I watched Breaking Bad or El Camino on a second or third date with somebody. And I remember he was such a jerk. I just would never go out with somebody like that again. I would never now, today, I never would. This was 2019. This was a long time ago. But that is what I remember about El Camino, was watching this movie with this guy who was such a jerk. And like if I said anything, this literally happened. Okay, so I'm going to act it out for you. I had just done an episode of Doug Loves Movies with Matt Jones, who plays Badger. And this was back when Doug did a lot of live shows. So like that was another thing. Like it was so fun to be on these shows with all these different people that I would never cross paths with. That's actually how I met Matt and Tyler, Radio Silence. They were, I was on a show with them. Anyway, for Doug Loves Movies. Anyway, so I said to like the El Camino opens and then like, we spend a lot of time up front with Skinny Pete and Badger. And so I said to the guy that I was watching this movie with, I was like, oh, I actually just did a show with Matt Jones just a couple of weeks ago. And he picks up the remote and he pauses it and he goes, did you want to talk? And I was like, oh, no, sorry. No, sorry. We don't need to talk. He was such a jerk. Anyway, that's what I remember from El Camino. That, and I remembered thinking it was boring. And so Hector Navarro, who I talk about all the time, which by the way, Heroes Reforged, his YouTube channel is launching a podcast next week. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast. but he and I and Abby, his partner, so they just finished Breaking Bad from start to finish. And then I have never watched Better Call Saul from start to finish. I've seen the first like 2 seasons, and they've never seen it either. So they're completionists. So we watched My Bloody Valentine, and then we watched El Camino. And despite the fact that, you know, that guy was being mean to me, I also I did think it was kind of boring. Like I didn't love it. Didn't love it. So, but I am excited to get back into Better Call Saul, because I do love Bob Odenkirk. I love the Breaking Bad universe. So that was fun. And then I'll end it with tonight I'm seeing The Monkey, and then on Saturday I'm going to see Heart Eyes. So can't wait. Lots of great stuff to watch. Mirror Domains is going to Hellraiser Remastered this weekend. Awesome. Have fun with it. I know, right? Isn't that funny? Just add different movies under a spoiler channel header. Oh, okay, cool. Another Mr. Lizard. Thank you for that. Bold choice for a third date movie. Well, our first date movie was Joker. I should have known. Nicholas says, one of the movies that I finally watched for the first time was Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. I felt so bad it took me so long. It's very underrated. Agreed. It's great. If I'm watching a movie on a date, I would never stop the movie for any reason. What's wrong with some people? Yeah. Alan Smithy says, I used to work in the building Bob Odenkirk was in. He said hi to me in passing a couple times. Aw, he's supposed to be a real sweetie. Yeah, I think Joker LOL is the best place to end the stream. let's end on Joker LOL. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a blast. If you're new, if this was your first time here, thank you for being here. We do the stream twice a week. Our next episode is going to be on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube. So you can hit that subscribe button, and when we go live, you'll get a notification. Dylan Guerra, great TV writer and director, is going to be joining me. He is super fun. We're gonna have a great time with him. And as always, you can check out Patreon. You're welcome to join for free, but there is also for paying members, there is a Discord. There's also monthly watch-alongs. I love the idea of doing a watch-along of Scream 1 and Scream 2. That was a really good idea. And all kinds of fun stuff over there on Patreon. So check it out. And I think that is going to do it for me. I hope you all have a wonderful time this week. Oh yeah, and also let's give Nicholas, I like this. Speaking of Hard Eyes, I saw the director Josh Rubin's other movie, Werewolves Within. That movie was a lot of fun. Hard agree. If you are looking for a recommendation, Werewolves Within, directed by Josh Rubin, is great. I love it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you, Nicholas. Thank you to everybody in chat. I hope y'all stay safe out there. Have a great day. And I'll see you on Thursday, if not sooner. Okay. Bye-bye.